We are today with one of the CEOs of one of the startups in Barcelona, very famous, very popular today. We heard about ROKUBUN a lot. So we are very pleased to receive in our channel in the JSON Academy. Xavier Banque, how are you, Xavier?
Hi, hello, Eduardo. I'm fine. Thanks for welcoming us to this interview, and thanks for exaggerating about the reputation of ROKUBUN.
Well, I appreciate a lot the company. That's why I invited you to come and to tell about your activities, right? Then I have several questions for you. If you are ready, I can start. You ready?
Sure.
Yes? Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself, because it's important to see where is the history, the background of the people that are creating new companies in the space sector, right? Then who is Xavier Banque, which is your background? Why you decided to create a company?
Right. I would say I'm the classical tech guy. I have a background in telecom engineering, and I did as well some education in management later on when I already started my professional career. And at some point when I was in a stage in Estec for a year, back in 2007, something like this, when I was still young, I was working in the first ESA business incubator, which was settled at Estec and in Noordwijk in the Netherlands. And from then on, I've always had the idea of what it would be like working for myself. And that was the seed for ROKUBUN Foundation, a few years later on.
Which year exactly did you found it?
ROKUBUN was officially founded in 2015 with startup operations in fall 2015, so end of the year 2015.
And already a few years ago, right? Well,
6 years. 6 years now.
Now you are introducing ROKUBUN. Tell us a little bit more about ROKUBUN startup, which are the main mission of ROKUBUN, the main activities that you are developing today, and something about it.
Sure. The trigger for the ROKUBUN Foundation was essentially, as I said, to work on my own with my associate. We somehow aimed at creating something for us and by us. But ROKUBUN has been associated from the very beginning to the GNSS world, to satellite navigation. And we started the company with the very same idea we have as of today, which is a new demand on accurate yet affordable navigation was somehow popping up in the market, given the new technological trends that were somehow starting to be popular, namely drones, precision farming, automated vehicles, smart logistics, even location-based services with smartphones today. And we somehow figured out that there was no tailored solution for this new vertical, which was requiring accuracy, but at the same time affordability and scalability. And that was the reason why we founded ROKUBUN.
Okay. And ROKUBUN, what is the meaning of ROKUBUN? Because I know it, but maybe it's interesting to see which is the etymological meaning of ROKUBUN,
Sure.
right?
Sure. Since we are tech geeks, our name couldn't be less. And ROKUBUN comes from the Japanese word rokubunji, that means literally a sixth of a circle, which is sextant. It's a sextant. It's the sextant instrument, which is this very known maritime navigation instrument from the 18th century.
That's
obviously, since we deal with navigation, it makes sense for us to be ROKUBUN.
Yeah, and I know that the ROKUBUN makes part, let's say, of the new space, right? What does it mean exactly? The new space and ROKUBUN, what is doing inside?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're certainly quite often framed in this new space initiative, and it makes sense because ROKUBUN is indeed a new space company. So the new space initiative somehow stands that the space is undergoing a democratization process, right? So prices are lowering down, hardware prices, space access prices, and even downstream service prices. which is the sector in which ROKUBUN works, right? Yeah, we are kind of following the same philosophy, because one of the visions of ROKUBUN is to democratize precise position for mass market applications. So in that sense, we are in line with the new space philosophy.
Okay, that makes sense, yes. Then what you are doing in ROKBUN, you are targeting, let's say, the precise positioning solutions, right? Coming from the GNSS signals that are free, available everywhere in the world. And you are trying to exploit these signals in order to target this kind of users, applications that demands more and more accuracy, right? This is the case. And
yeah, that's the motto. That's the motto at ROKUBUN, right? So the motto at ROKUBUN is to try to get the best of mid-range and low-range GNSS equipment, which is normally the one featured by mass market applications, by somehow adding a software or a layer of algorithms, which is our expertise, that takes the best of our users' hardware.
Yeah. And in this sense, I heard about your key tool, let's say, we call it JSON, right? You call it right like this. Tell us about, I know what it does, JSON, but maybe you can tell about JSON. What is exactly the main mission of JSON, and how are you using it today?
Sure. JSON's our maiden commercial solution. It's a cloud PPK service. It's a service within the cloud that essentially undergoes precise satellite navigation processing, mainly with the so-called PPK technique that stands for post-processing kinematics, which is the post-facto version of the well-known RTK, right? Real-time kinematics. It is essentially, in terms of performance, the same of doing RTK, but it's not addressing real-time applications, but post-facto applications. There's two main advantages of PPK in front of RTK, namely, since it's not a real-time, you can afford more powerful processing techniques, right? Because you can process forward as you do in real time, but you can process as well backwards, right? And that, normally it improves a little bit the performance of the results.
That allows you to clean up a lot of, let's say, measurements that are not good enough for the solution, right?
Precisely. I mean, the residuals of the standard forward processing are the priors of the subsequent backwards processing, and therefore you can clean your solution up to reaching better results than with the standard RTK. And the second advantage, which is even way more important, is that operations are way less cumbersome, right? Because in RTK, you have to take care of what's the base station you're going to be used. You have to make sure that you have a continuous link of communication in between you and the core station, regardless of whether this core station belongs to a public network or is your own GNSS equipment. In the case of PPK, you just go there, you do your operations, whichever they are, a drone flight, a test drive, whatever. You don't have to care about base station, and then JSON does this job for you in a post-facto approach.
Exactly. Then, as you mentioned, one of the main applications, for example, is when you are using drones navigation, right? Tell us, for example, one of the use cases for drones. Then let's say that a user have a drone, he navigates with a drone in somewhere, in a place in the world, and then what is behind? What are you doing exactly behind? What a user is doing in order to use JSON and have a solution later on?
Yeah, sure. Our canonical use case is drone mapping and surveying operations, because these guys, drone surveyors, they are in need of having an accurate geolocation and time knowledge of the images they somehow acquire during their flights, right? So you'd be familiar with the fact that in an SPP, in a standalone positioning, standard drone GNSS equipment provides geolocation estimations in the order of a couple of meters. In the best of the cases, 1.5 meters. Okay, this is not enough for having accurate estimations of where and when those images have been taken during the flight. And this is something that drone operations need for the next processing step, which is normally the photogrammetry processing that results into the final ortho product or ortho image or 3D model, which is what drone surveying and operations is in search of. So what JSON does for those guys is they do their flight, they don't care about anything else than flying, and then after the flight, they upload the GNSS data and the images data that the drone has been storing during the flight, and then JSON automatically delivers them the precise geolocation of each and every image they've been taking during the flight. And this output can be plug and play fed into the photogrammetry softwares, so that they save a lot of work, a lot of field work, because they don't have to care about anything else than flying. But they save a lot of work as well, because having precise coordinates of those images allows not to using what they call ground control points, which are tediously surveyed normally in field operations, not using precise positioning.
Exactly, makes sense. Then the idea is then you receive the GNSS data and the pictures, let's say, right? And this GNSS data is basically measurements, codes and,
yes,
and measurements, and or maybe also the navigation message. And JSON is smart enough in order to take the data, the base data or reference data that is coming from a baseline or a base station that is not far away from the place the drone were flown, right? Let's say, and then over this you have your algorithms that are working in a cloud, working in a RTK mode or PPK mode to give a differential GNSS or RTK solution based on double differences, fixed ambiguity solution, and so on, right?
Exactly, it's exactly it. And all these processes, it's fully automated. I mean, it does not require any specific expertise on the user side. It's one of the unique selling points of JSON. It follows a drag and drop philosophy.
Then this is working because today let's say in Europe or in regions we have a lot of core stations, let's say operational reference stations, and you can take there are public data, free data that you can just upload and use it, right? But maybe you have some areas or some regions where you don't have any baseline solution or base station that is not so close enough. In this particular case, maybe your solution will be a little bit degraded or penalized, let's say. And do you have any other alternative algorithms that are putting in place in order to have this precise solution, centimeter level demanded solution?
Yes, in Western Europe and North America especially, are more than 7,000 core stations database normally covers most of the zones where our customers are operating. But obviously, other countries have not that dense core network infrastructure. So in those cases, JSON offers two different options. First one, which is very popular, is that the drone operators, they have their own base station equipment. And then JSON allows as well, not only uploading the rover data, but at the same time, uploading rover and base station. And then JSON will anyhow compute the PPK. And alternatively, JSON can as well be configured to process in PPP, right? PPP, precise point positioning technology for precise navigation can be as well an option in JSON. This has some drawbacks, mainly time drawbacks, because as you might know, and GNSS community might be acquainted with, in order to have precise PPP, you normally use SP3 products. And in order to have the best quality of those products, you have to wait for roughly 48 hours after you've been taking your data. But that's it. JSON can be used for that as well.
When you mean the time, you mean that you need some days to process the data because you don't have available this reference data, precise data, right? in any case,
Yes.
but it is true that this data can be also obtained from any commercial service. So I mean, it can be in more real time with a very good accuracy as well. Yes.
Yes. I mean, one of our ongoing works is we are already testing the high accuracy service from Galileo. So it will be sooner than later integrated in JSON. And then we'll be able to process PPP data in a real time, right? Because we will have this real time correction service integrated within JSON.
Yes, the advantage is even in, I mean, for you, we are talking about post-processing application, offline application, then the convergence time for the solution is not a problem for you, right? Because as we know, in PPP, without, let's say, ionosphere corrections, the problem is that the time for convergence, usually we have 30 minutes to wait for it, but in your case, you are in a post-processing mode, and you can wait wherever you want in order to have the precise solution, right?
Well, yeah, that's not totally exact, to be honest. And that's why we always recommend to go for the PPK as the default option, because essentially, if you are a drone operator, you will not be 30 minutes waiting with the drone acquiring GNSS data for an eventual PPP solution to be converged, right? So you'll turn on your drone and start flying. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple of minutes will be elapsed from turning power on and start flying. And that's why we always recommend to go through the PPK solution.
Exactly. Okay.
No, for static applications, for estimating a static point, PPP, it's great. And in that case, normally, the convergence time is not an issue, because anyhow, for the estimation of a static point, you take long periods of data.
Yeah, but even maybe for precise agriculture, sometimes they are willing to wait, let's say 30 minutes before starting the processing or something like this, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Which other, because we are talking about drones as the main concept in JSON, but you have which kind of other applications or use cases or usages are you today using in with JSON or any other software you have?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. For example, one of our use cases, one of our customers, they use JSON for motorsports, right? In motorsports, customers, they want to know not the road they've been driving at, but the exact lane, right? Because they want to know the exact trajectory of the rally car or of the motorbike within a road or within a competition circuit, right? And they want to know the exact speed at the exact time. And JSON can be used in that sense in a post facto manner. So once you're done with your series of driving or with your competition, you have access to this precise position, velocity, and timing of your test drive or your competition drive, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And in Rokubun, apart from JSON, I mean the business model, which is the main key factor you are using, do you have any other activities? Are you using? I mean, you are working for another customers in which kind of activities? If you can disclaim or not.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as I said, JSON's just the maiden commercial solution at Rokubun. At Rokubun, we're working in our own what we call location stack. A location stack, it's a software library in the end that covers from low level to high level all the different applications in the location business. And this we're developing a proprietary engine that will overcome the limitations of the PPP and the RTK respectively. So we're doing let's put it this way, a seamless, precise satellite navigation engine. We are working on this in the frame of a couple of projects with the USPA, the former GSA, now USPA, and we are as well a quite often contractor with the European Space Agency.
And which is your target there? It will be the mass market for this particular engine, or?
This engine targets specifically two verticals: location-based services, namely to be embedded in smartphones, and as well automotive, to be embedded in vehicle navigation units.
Exactly.
So in the end, it's a navigation engine which is absolutely platform agnostic, and therefore it can be embedded anywhere.
And I guess that because we are talking about in autonomous vehicles, we are talking about also, let's say, safety. We are talking about integrity, not only about precision, accuracy. Are you working on also in the concept of integrity in order to give the confidence to the solution you are providing? Because, precision is not enough. I mean, we have to make sure that the failures do not lead into human losses at the end.
Yeah, we are starting to see that working in accuracy, which has been the core focus of ROKUBUN since the very beginning, is not enough. In the recent months, or I would say even in the last year, we started working in other GNSS key performance indicators, such as availability and continuity, and we're now starting in working in integrity.
Okay, that's makes a lot of sense. Yes. Good. Now in ROKBUN, how many people are you until now?
We're now 14 people at ROKUBUN because we've been growing since 2020. We're quite stable right now, so we do not expect to grow more within this 2021. Let's see. Probably during 2022, we're gonna be growing again. And our goal, our idea is we're gonna probably reach something around 20 employees, 25 tops, and stay there. I mean, our business is, we are what we call a market-driven R&D technology developer for navigation solutions. I mean, our business model is to develop technologies, and then those technologies are either sold or licensed for others to exploit them. And we consider that a company in between 20-25 people of very skilled people, it's enough to be comfortably compliant with this business model.
And this will be done in next year or in the next years, you mean? Or
yeah, that's gonna probably be completed during 2022, 2023.
Okay, that's let's talk about the GNSS market in a whole. Let's say, how do you see in the future the GNSS market? Which are the perspectives in the coming years that are, the customers, the people demanding most and most?
Sure. I'm not gonna. Yeah, my opinion is kind of biased by the niche where ROKUBUN has been working since the very beginning. But it's not only me. It's as well GSA in their last market reports. They are pointing to the fact that GNSS market, as any other tech verticals, is experiencing a decrease in the price of hardware. And it is at the same time penetrating mass market verticals that are requiring as much accuracy as possible at a very low price. So that poses a challenge, right? Because traditionally, accuracy was somehow associated with high-end GNSS equipment, very expensive.
Exactly.
You cannot imagine a car embedding a Septentrio solution worth 5,000 euros, right? Because the car might be 15,000 euros. And therefore, I think a big challenge here is to be able for the companies dealing with satellite navigation. A big challenge is to achieve performances that used to be on the professional grade side, achieve those kind of performances in terms of accuracy, availability, integrity, at a fraction of the price that used to be a few years ago. And I think the industry is going towards this direction.
Then we are going to the low cost, let's say, solutions,
yes.
more and more precision, and then more and more integrity and confidence in the solution, right? This is the future challenge that we are facing with the GNSS market.
Good news is that it seems that things are properly put in place for this to happen. We see more and more correction services, right? Public, Galileo has, but private initiatives, Subcorda, Swift Navigation, and hardware, albeit being less expensive, it increases the quality. So, a GNSS receiver today worth 100 euros performs as good as centimetric accuracy in phase differential techniques, which is really good news.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, nice. Let's talk about now about your team. Okay, the engineers. And at the end, in order to grow, you need engineers, right? If we are talking about the skills that you need in your team, what kind of skills are you looking for in engineers when we are trying to hire someone?
So that's a very good question. I think we're not the only ones facing a very important challenge at the time of hiring, because as you said, talent it's a key aspect for the healthy growth of a company, right? I mean, you need the right skills and you need the right engineers to undergo the job. And this is something difficult, to be honest. There's no I would say much GNSS talent around, and because I would say demand it's way bigger than the offer as of today. So that's a good opportunity for those young engineers that are still wondering what's the topic they should be specializing on. GNSS, it's clearly a technology with a brilliant future, because GNSS is somehow being a commodity as of today. It used to be a technology, it is now a commodity. So GNSS is needed everywhere, and therefore there's a big demand on satellite navigation engineers that we are trying to somehow leverage to hire the right profiles at ROKBUN.
And what is the skills are you looking for exactly when you are talking about satellite navigation engineers? Okay, they should know about satellite navigation, which is complex itself because it touches a lot of different topics inside. But exactly when you are saying, okay, this is an engineer, which are your skills? Are you talking about software skills, software engineering? Are you talking about telecommunications, signal processing?
We make a big difference depending on whether we are hiring a senior or a junior. Okay. Obviously, should we be hiring a senior profile, we are very scrupulous with what we look for, and then we somehow expect a very in-depth knowledge of the topic, right? GNSS, former experience in number crunching, data processing, data addition, etc., etc. But when hiring a junior, that's not anymore a requirement for us. We value way more attitude and obviously an initial idea, right? I mean, the music should be sound for them, but we are not expecting a super big expertise when they are hired at ROKBUN. I mean, that is something that they can learn here.
Yes, of course. With experience, working on the experience, at the end they will learn a lot, and then they will become a senior engineers in the future. Then, I know that you know the GNSS Academy. You came just a few months ago giving a lecture on this. Do you think that the initiatives of training engineers from the industrial point of view is a good thing for the market today? I think it can solve a need for companies in the sector.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. I mean, I think it can make the difference between two candidates, right? Between hiring or not hiring. As I said, even if it's a junior, what can make the difference is, look, we have similar profiles, but this guy at least has something, some experience, some ideas, some preliminary background that will be somehow leveraged when working with us. I think it's worth, definitely.
Because as you know, the idea of the GNSS Academy is not only giving, theoretical knowledge, because sometimes the theoretical knowledge you can learn it in the books or, in a lot of different places. But what we are doing is really an industrial approach. It means that you have to develop a real project that have been already developed in the past for ESA, in the ESA way, the ESA procedures and all the specifications, architecture that are demanded, right? And then this is a very big push, let's say, when starting a career for them, right? Because we are trying to fill the gap between the university theoretical knowledge and the practical way to face different topics with programming languages, software development, and this kind of stuff. Then I have just a last question for you. I think you have already mentioned it, but would you encourage the young engineers to focus their career on this promising and thriving sector in the future that so many challenges, technological challenges to solve for in the next future?
Yes, definitely yes. I mean, bear in mind one idea. The so-called fourth industrial revolution, which is the automation revolution, will require each and every vehicle to be autonomous. And that's way more vehicles than the ones we are considering today, right? Because we might think about cars and trucks and last mile logistics, but there's going to be air taxis, there's going to be drone delivery, there's going to be millions of vehicles in need of automated driving, whose core technology it's GNSS, among others, obviously. But GNSS is within the core technologies allowing this automation revolution. Therefore, it's a promising topic, undoubtedly.
You mentioned about air mobility, right? Air taxis. You know, in Barcelona, Air Advanced Mobility. You know this company. Yeah, it's a very good friend of mine. The guy I told you.
Yeah.
Know? Yes.
Another initiative.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't have any more questions for you. If you have any question for me, maybe we can you can do it. Otherwise, we can stop here. What do you think, Xavier?
Oh, I think it's fine. Hope to see you again in some GNSS sessions if you wish.
Of course, you are always welcome. You are always welcome.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Well,
and yeah, I wish you the best.
Okay, thank you so much, Xavier, for your time, and I wish you also lots of success for your company and for your personal achievements. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
bye.
Let's stay in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.